I'm so excited for this. Are you excited for this?
I'm excited.
Ben,
Mike,
you're back in person.
I know.
We're gonna react today to Star Wars and Star Trek. What's the difference?
Wait, there's a difference? I'm
don't-
just kidding. These are jokes, people.
Disclaimer for anybody out there. I've never seen either of these things. Actually, that's a lie. Here's what I'll say. I saw like maybe a half hour of Star Wars in school when my one teacher played it, the original Star Wars. I saw Rogue One, and I saw the one with Darth Maul.
Phantom Menace.
Sure. And the only thing of Star Trek that I know is Sir Patrick Harris.
Sir Patrick Harris.
Neil Harris. Stewart.
Oh. Patrick
Sir
Stewart.
Patrick
Gotcha.
Stewart, yes.
Gotcha. All right. Well, we're gonna hop right
Neil
into.
Patrick Harris. No. Sorry, everybody.
All
All right, let's hop in.
All right. Here we
See what
go.
we got.
Star Wars and Star Trek have a lot in common, don't
they?
they?
Oh,
they're
they-
both inspired and
they're both in
influenced
space.
different things in each other over the years. George Lucas himself said that
They're
Star
both in
Wars
space.
stood on the shoulders of Star Trek, and J.J. Abrams put Star Trek back on the map again in the early 2000s by making Star Trek noticeably more like Star Wars. And Alex,
Really?
over from Star Wars Minute, has made the partner video for this one, which is all about what the two franchises have in common and how they've inspired each other over the years. And I'll link you to his video and his
Oh.
channel at the end,
Oh.
which you
Inspired
should
each other over
definitely
the
check
years.
out. Whereas here, we're going to talk about
inspiring.
how these two franchises are different, specifically
know.
how they're different in terms of their origin and their style.
Means that I should somehow, do a Jedi mind meld with.
Oh my
these
gosh.
As most of us know, George Lucas
Oh,
drew inspiration
Obama.
from many different
We miss
sources
you.
to create Star Wars. The main ones being John Carter of Mars and Dune, with a little bit of Flash Gordon thrown in as well.
I thought you said
early
June,
versions of
not
the script for A
Dune.
New
Another
Hope,
fun
the
fact,
influences
I
of
thought
Dune
that
were
when
much more
Dune
visible.
came out that
there
that
was
was
much
Star
more focus that was given to different houses
Oh,
in
no.
Star Wars,
It looked
different
the
royal
same.
families,
It's
the
not.
names of them, how they all relate to each other. That's very Dune-like. And the Jedi mind trick is essentially the same as the voice ability in that.
Huh.
Cut my sons.
Oh no.
From sandworms to sarlaccs and space worms, the nods to Dune are very clear. The influence of John Carter of Mars is shown much more in the stuff on Tatooine, and with Luke's journey of going from basically being a nobody to being the savior.
You know that was actually a mistake.
The double moon.
The double suns.
Why?
Because when they were filming Star Wars and they were doing the shots on Tatooine,
Yeah.
they noticed that there was a spot, like a reflection in the camera when they were recording those scenes, and they could, so they decided to add it, make it another sun. That was an accident. Yep. I'm like, oh, it's just making another sun.
Being
So
the
this
savior of the
comic
universe. It's
inspired
very similar to
first?
John
This
Carter.
John
and
Carter?
John Carter of Mars has been called
I
the
guess.
Star Wars of its time. It was basically Star Wars before Star Wars. Plus, John Carter spawned Flash Gordon, which also inspired a lot of the space
Interesting.
opera kind of style that Star Wars has.
Okay.
So what we can see from all of this
So
is
What?
that a lot of the creative
Everybody
origins of
stole
Star
everything, I'm
Wars
guessing.
mostly
I
come
guess.
from literature, specifically fantasy literature. While Star Trek, on the other hand, comes solidly from television stock. When Gene Roddenberry originally pitched the idea for Star Trek, he described it as a space western. And indeed, Star Trek does have more in common with a western than it
Space
does with
western.
fantasy literature.
Okay.
A typical episode
the
of a
final
TV
frontier,
western
I
back
guess.
then was
I mean-
a gunslinger would show up at a small town, which has its own unique issues and problems.
Interesting
and
mustache.
the gunslinger has to solve those issues by the end
They're
of the
handlebars,
episode.
you know.
Maybe it's a gang of outlaws threatening the town. Maybe it's
Why?
a
What is
corrupt
with this wolf
sheriff,
with the
Maybe it's the
AK-47?
railroads hassling
Maybe that's
farmers.
him talking,
Whatever
I
it
guess?
is,
I don't
the
know.
gunslinger has to find a way to fix it by the end. But once he's fixed it, he moves on to the next town for the next episode. That's essentially how Star Trek was designed,
Enterprise.
with the Enterprise and their crew moving from planet to planet, culture to culture, having different adventures each episode. So as you can see, this is a very different style of storytelling than you get from fantasy literature.
Okay.
But within this Western type of TV format, Star Trek is undeniably inspired more from the Isaac Asimov spectrum of science fiction fiction rather than the science fantasy spectrum. The difference being that with Isaac Asimov's science fiction, it was less focused on action and big space battles and things like that, and it was more focused on thought-provoking ideas and concepts. Star Trek follows that.
My thoughts
pattern
feel
much
provoked.
more. While Star Wars is more about the hero's journey, Star Trek
He said something about it being thought-provoking. I said my thoughts feel provoked.
about the journey of mankind as a whole, and everything in the show kind of revolves around that. And this difference results in drastically different universes in the two franchises. Both of these universes are populated by countless worlds with countless different alien creatures. In the Star Wars universe, though, all these different worlds and all these different aliens generally fall into one of two categories: the good guys and the bad guys.
Yeah.
For the most parts, those
Good
are pretty
versus
much
bad.
the only two sides in the Star Wars
Darth Vader
universe,
is the
and
good
there is
guy.
a clear line drawn between the two. However, in Star Trek, things are more complicated. Space is divided up into multiple different sections, each with its own distinct government and culture, pushing for its own interests, and these different factions always competing with each other. So someone who was your bitter enemy yesterday could be your close ally today, or vice versa. In Star Wars, things are very black and white, but in Star Trek, it explores all those various shades of grey in between,
Yeah, pretty much.
forcing you to think about where the moral line is. What choice would you make if you're in the situation that the characters
I
are in?
agree on that.
Each alien race in Star Trek represents a negative character trait that serves as their Achilles heel. Anger, greed, a lust for power. But each alien race also has positive aspects to them. Honor and courage, resourcefulness and adaptability. Yeah, to be honest, these guys don't really have anything to do with it. But you get my point. A good way to sort of sum
That's
up
the
difference between
Kardashians.
the two
No,
universes,
the
I think, is these two
Kardashians.
quotes between their creators. Gene Roddenberry said this about Star Trek. Star Trek was an attempt to say that humanity will reach maturity and wisdom on the day that it begins to take special delight in differences in ideas and differences in life forms. If we can't learn to take a positive delight in those small differences between our own kind here on this planet, then we don't deserve to go into space and meet the diversity that is almost certainly out there. While George Lucas summed up Star Wars like this: Star Wars is fun, it's exciting, it's inspirational, and people respond to that.
Oh,
and it's what
George.
they want.
It's
And he's
fun,
right. It is what they
exciting.
want. Star Wars and Star Trek. It's like
love this
comparing
meme.
classical music and rock and roll, or beer and wine. All of them are good,
Hold
but
on a
they're
second. Oop, what did I do?
and he's right. It is what they want. Star Wars.
So this is a pretty good meme. A red shirt and a stormtrooper get into a fight. The stormtrooper misses every shot. The red shirt dies anyway.
I don't get it. What?
Okay, so stormtroopers are notorious for not hitting their shots because for whatever reason they're always supposed to be experts at shooting things like only an Imperial stormtrooper could have made this shot, but in every scene they're getting shot at and no one's getting hit, you know. And then in every episode of Star Trek, there were the extra crewman who doesn't have a name or anything that always winds up dying on the away team because of reasons, you know, like just something that happens. You're the unknown crewman. You're wearing a red shirt. You're gonna die. That's how it is. So the meme is a stormtrooper
Trooper
who
shoots,
can't-
misses, but he dies anyway. Okay.
Yep.
Get it.
There you
Star
go.
Wars and Star Trek. It's like comparing classical music and rock and
I love that
roll,
meme.
or beer and wine. All of them are good, but they're for slightly different purposes. And let's be honest, most of us nerds tend to like both to varying degrees.
Kissing him?
And come on, there's no rule saying that you can't like both. I mean, I like both. We all like both. So really, Star Wars and Star Trek are not
We're
so
all
much
nerds.
enemies, they're more frenemies. But as I said, Alex over at Star Wars Minute is covering the other side of this discussion about looking at all the two things that the franchises have in common. So click right here and check out his video on what they have in common. Or if you're coming across from Alex's channel, you might be interested in this video of mine right here about is Force Awakens really a remake? So thanks for watching. I am Ben.
All right.
All right. That
Well,
was
that
definitely interesting.
was pretty interesting. I still haven't learned much. So basically, Star Wars is fantasy, as where Star Trek is fiction.
For the most part, yes. Yeah,
Okay.
yes. So, like, Star Wars is based off of fantasy and has science fiction elements in it, and then Star Trek is science fiction with some fantasy elements in it.
Okay.
Does that make sense? It's kind of almost like the Marvel versus DC, whereas both have fantasy and both have sci-fi, I feel like Marvel has geared their main team with Iron Man and stuff like that with the more practical, or at least when they started with the MCU.
Okay.
They had more scientifically based
Okay.
stuff and that less fantasy, whereas, you know, DC is like Superman and Wonder Woman and all those more fantasy driven characters.
But then Batman would be more practical.
Correct.
like-
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. That makes
But I'm just saying, like, you know, I feel, and this is just my personal opinion, but I feel like the Marvel seems to start off more geared, especially with the way they started the MCU. It felt more scientifically based, where, so like, you know, if it's science fiction, it's like, if we had this element and if we could do this, then we could do that. Whereas fantasy is like, all right, it does. Why? Because the sun's yellow. Because, yeah, reasons.
Wait, the sun's yellow?
Sun's not actually yellow, but
Well, okay.
yeah,
Interesting.
yeah, definitely.
How about this? If we get 100 likes on this video, I will watch Star Wars.
Yeah, do it.
I will watch Star Wars.
We'll watch Star
Only
Wars.
if we get 100 likes on this video, though.
Yeah.
All right.
Maybe we'll record it for Patreon or something.
Probably.
Maybe.
We'll probably have to. So you should go over to our Patreon account at patreon.com/collection of madness. Great segue.
Great segue. Perfect.
Where you can check out great exclusive content on there and tier up at any level. And make sure to check us out on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok as well. And, of course, make sure to like the video, share the video, and subscribe if you're already not.
Yeah, I agree.
Bye.
Bye.